By the time it ended, I pick up my phone and I have 45 missed calls. When the cops show up after your listing appointment, you don't get the listing.
And then they would have called the Starbucks and been put my wife on the phone before I kill her.
I feel like this is an intervention. I like this.
Right.
Totally
I should have done that.
I mean, I can give my 5-year-old daughter a knife and say, defend yourself. And she may not look good doing it, but nobody's going to want to come near her while she's got that in her hand.
Yeah.
Thinking it's not going to happen to you is not a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alyssa and Katie, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths. Hi, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
Hi, Tanner.
Hello.
It's episode 161.
And it is September.
It's September.
So we are in Realtor Safety Month.
That's right.
And we were going back and forth on who we should talk to. So I thought I would bring my husband in because he is in law enforcement.
We have him in the lair.
Yes, we do. And he is not a podcast listener.
Of the Hustle Humbly. Yeah, we're no Joe Rogan over here.
Yeah, he only listens to Joe Rogan, so we are not on his list to listen
That's okay.
to.
He's not trying to sell real estate.
But his partner at work is a listener and is always sending me videos of them.
I've seen a video.
Listening on the job and whatnot.
Like in the car. Like
in the car, about to get out and do an operation. They're going to amp up to Hustle Humbly.
Right. Sure, why not? We're total amp up content.
Yeah. So anyway, our little disclaimer is he is here as my husband and as my spouse giving safety advice, not representing any type of law
any
enforcement.
branch of the government.
Yes, he is not representing law enforcement offices, and this is just Tanner Jenkins advice.
Okay, great, Tanner Jenkins. No pressure.
But before we get started, the flip report. So I went by, and in 1 week, the progress that he has made is so much.
Okay,
so much progress. It is painted. I will say I feel like the texture on the walls is a little much and not super consistent.
Did he do the texture? It's what was there.
No, he did it. I just feel like you're doing an entire house. So I just think
what, he got a little feisty with the texture?
I don't know. I mean, it's fine. And looking at yours, it's fine. It just, I don't know. I bet Whitney will say something about it.
Like it's too texturized?
Yeah. Maybe. Like it's a little too orange. Anyway,
this is a non-problem.
Non-problem at all.
This is a non-problem.
And so he also was getting, it's funny because Whitney, is very attention to detail, which is why I have her brought on.
Right.
Well, I think in some ways he is like, great.
This girl
my contractor.
Again.
Yeah.
Right.
So he is now only texting her in Spanish.
Does she speak Spanish?
No. She has to copy and paste his text messages into Google Translate.
I'm very confused by this. Why is he doing this?
He's like, you're making my job harder. I'm making your job. Yeah.
Okay.
So it is really funny.
Touche, contractor.
Yeah, she was sending me screenshots and stuff, and he even sent his Bitmoji laughing at her. And it was really funny. But he texted me a picture of, because we're doing a shiplap wall in the kitchen.
Okay.
He sent me a picture of shiplap and said, "You like?" And I said, "Yes." But the fact that he asked me made me feel uncertain.
Like he had asked her and she said no?
No, just is there other options? Why are you asking me?
Tell me my other options.
Right. You don't ask me about baseboards, or you just do it. So I felt like because he was asking me, I should have. So I made the mistake of just texting Whitney and saying, "Angel just sent me this." She's like, no, not that kind at all. Nothing from Home Depot. He needs to go to Holmes Building Supply and ask for this kind and this and that. And he's just like, and I'm like,
that's why he didn't
sorry.
text it to her.
Right.
Oh.
So he did what he was asked, but that's just an example. But anyway, it looks really good. He also started draining the washing machine.
Oh, right.
And it does not
line.
look as bad.
Okay.
And I think that we can even hide it with like a baseboard around the house.
Oh, great.
So it's fine.
What a delight.
But I'm really pleased with the progress.
Okay.
It looks great.
Do we know how much longer now?
No.
Okay.
I need to get exterior doors. He's kind of waiting on that.
What is there anything that's slow right now?
Tile, he would like to start, but it's we have 1 more week before tile comes in.
Gets here. Got it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That's all.
Do you hear any of this at home, Tanner?
No.
Do.
Have you ever seen the flip house, Tanner? That we own? No, you have not?
He's like,
I've
just
asked.
let me know when the check comes in.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like an investor.
That's
Right,
Just
right.
don't invest
He's a very
anything.
silent investor. He's like, shh, I don't need to know.
If you listened to our podcast, you would be up to date with our investments that we have.
That's all right.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
This is just a workhorse over here.
That's right.
It just brings in the cash.
Now,
Okay.
when somebody broke into the other flip house during remodel, Tanner handled that.
Right. Well, hopefully then you won't get involved with this one.
Right.
I would hope so, yes.
Yeah, I think
That was an
I hope
unfortunate moment.
it was.
I don't remember. Do we actually tell the
We
people
didn't.
that?
I left that out
Side
on the
note.
first flip
We're
report.
just going to move on now.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Do.
That's it.
Okay,
The
on
flip
to
report.
safety.
Right. Now I'm just going to like
Right.
zone in.
I
and
know.
listen.
I mean, we have some listener questions.
Uh-huh.
But I think a good place to start would be, I mean, you're married to a realtor and you have also seen me evolve from being a brand new agent that worked phone duty, people I didn't know. I also didn't know the right way to screen people. I mean, there were times when you came with me to showings and just kind of parked down the street to keep an eye on things. But as a spouse, like, what are things that you would worry about?
The main thing is meeting people that you don't know their information. Just
Yeah.
a cold call that would say, can you show me this house? Now, I know a lot of realtors like you require pre-approval letters. I think that's huge because they're having to go through some sort of, it's not really a safety check, but it's identifying that person, whether it be through a social security number, their full name. The lender has some sort of information where if somebody's planning on doing something malicious, likely they're not going to go through that because they don't want to be tracked.
Yeah.
It's not saying it can't happen, but
Right.
it's less likely.
Mm-hmm. One thing I was thinking about when we were looking at some of these questions is if you have someone that's pre-approved already, but you don't know their lender, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just email that lender and say, hi, Mr. Joe, I am working with Mr. Sam. He sent me a pre-approval letter from you. I just wanted to let you know we have a mutual client and, you know, make sure that you feel good about his pre-approval.
Yeah, I think that question is key. Do you feel good about his pre-approval?
Yeah.
The scariest thing, I won't tell the whole story. Maybe later I'll tell you. The scariest thing that ever happened to me in a real estate showing, the guy who showed up had gone to a lender's office and had a pre-approval and had actually also scared the lender.
Oh.
So when I started following up and like calling, the lender was like, he's very erratic. This is not right. Like,
oh.
yeah. So,
That's
I mean,
very
that's good to do, but you just never know. They're strangers.
Well, it's one thing if they go to a lender you know.
right.
And then that all works out. But then if they say, oh, I'm already pre-approved, here's my letter.
And
Or-
you're like, I don't know this bank, XYZ bank.
right. Or I'm paying cash. Some
Oh.
people think just because they're paying cash, they don't have to have any kind of letter. So when I follow up with, great, do you have a proof of funds letter?
Mhm.
If they don't or aren't willing to, I think that's like a huge red flag.
Yeah, agree.
So if we do get a new client that we've never met before, maybe we got it from a sign call or something like that. Anything specific besides a pre-approval letter that you would recommend that we do
Like before meeting them.
before we go meet them in preparation of going for the meeting?
I mean, you can always check the person's phone number in Facebook and see if it comes back to a Facebook account with that name. You just put the number in Facebook Messenger. And if they have that number registered on there,
That's
you
a good
could
idea.
likely Google that phone number
Mhm.
and maybe it'll come back to some sort of forums, especially if they're using some sort of spoof number.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
So just
there's
do
a
some-
reason for people using those numbers if they're doing off of Wi-Fi or something, but
Uh-huh.
that's not that likely. So if they don't have an actual good cell phone number and they're mean, and the main thing is go off your gut. If it
Yeah.
doesn't seem right, it's probably because it's not
It's not right. Yeah.
Yeah, we just did an episode on listening to your inner voice.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's very
and how
true.
important the gut is in
Okay.
knowing things.
We have an app that our board has started to provide to us for free, but it's something that any agent can pay for. It's called Forewarn.
Okay.
Do you know anything about Forewarn?
I don't.
It's the same sort of thing. Like you put in a phone number or a name and it'll kind of give you like a reverse lookup and some information about them.
It is kind of funny because people are always like, "Oh, your husband's in law enforcement. Can he like run a plate for me?" And I'm like, "No." Like,
But that would
Definitely
be great if you could.
yeah. But I mean, I think that the Forewarn app, I was very thankful that our board started providing it because
Right.
it shows criminal history, if they've declared bankruptcy. I mean, if you are about to go show a house and you run it through the app and see they declared bankruptcy last year, you can't get a loan.
Right.
Like there's
right.
a certain number of years you have to wait.
Mhm.
Another thing you can do if you have their name, you can run it in every parish has a sex offender database that is public information.
Yeah.
You get on the internet, whatever parish you're in, go to that day, enter the name, and it'll tell you if they're a sex offender.
Yeah.
And like what they did. And
So that's
Correct.
is that easy to look up in every state?
I don't know about
Yeah.
every state, but it's very
It's
easy.
super easy
East
here.
Baton Rouge, Livingston, Ascension,
Okay.
around here.
yeah,
Okay.
that's a good idea.
Okay.
And then I guess too, we've always talked about like if you're about to go on a meeting, I used to tell Tanner, "Hey, I'm going to meet this person." But now I think I just have office people that I tell so as not to stress Tanner.
Okay. Well, that's a great question. So my practice is to put the appointment in my phone with the address where I'm going. So the person's name, like who I'm meeting, the name and the address, and I share the calendar event with Jay. So he at least, it's not just I'm at a showing with Susie Q.
Right.
I also have given you the address where that is happening.
That's a good idea.
So I like him knowing where I am and not just who I'm with. But really,
Is
and
there a time frame that
That's
you're
a
supposed to check in?
right, exactly. So then there's a time frame.
Okay.
Right? But like let's say I don't check in the time frame. Then what? Then what? Like what would you recommend? What would be his next
well,
step?
I think now would be a decent time to share my fail story.
Oh, okay,
of us.
please do.
So I was going on a listing appointment with someone I did not know. And that's the thing too. We talk a lot about pre-approving buyers, but if it's a listing appointment, there are things you need to do. You could check the online tax records to make sure that person owns that house that you're
Yeah,
really
I mean,
going.
bad people can still lure you to their house,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I had told my office mate at the time, "Look, I'm going to this house. I don't know this person. If you don't hear from me by this time, I don't know, call me." We didn't really,
There was nothing after that.
No game plan.
yeah, we didn't really plan past that. And
Right.
so
Great.
the listing appointment went extremely well, but we were
Mhm.
also talking and talking and talking. And so then I was super late for my next appointment, which was a buyer consultation at Starbucks. So I ran out of that listing appointment and sprinted to Starbucks. I'm calling the person I'm meeting to say, "I'm so sorry, I'm about 10 minutes late." And then I get there and I put my phone on silent and I do a full-on buyer consultation
Mhm.
that lasted like over an hour.
Mm-hmm.
By the time it ended, I pick up my phone and I have 45 missed calls.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them, they started out from Chelsea and then it was Tanner. And my heart dropped when I saw Tanner had called me like 17 times. I'm like, I felt like a kid. I was like, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Well, not only did I have all those missed calls, but my office mate had called the police.
Oh, no.
And the police went to that address.
To your listing.
To the listing that I did not get because when the cops show up after your listing appointment, you don't get the listing. So
No.
that's what happens.
Right.
So it was overall mortifying, embarrassing. I felt awful because I did not stick to my end of the bargain.
Important thing on that note, though, like don't let that discourage other realtors if you're the office mate of calling
Right,
the
just
police.
call the
If you feel-
police.
even if if your friend loses that listing,
Right.
it's better to get it
Right.
checked out.
You know what would have been helpful in that situation is if we shared our location. Like, you know how I can share my location
Oh,
with
right,
you.
right.
And some people are like, well, I don't want people knowing where I am all the time. I don't really care because it's not that interesting.
Right. Right. She's like, fine.
It doesn't bother me if Katie always knows where I am.
Right.
But two of the girls in my book club, they always have each other's location. So when we're at book club and one of them's late, she's like, let me see where she is. And then she's like, oh, she's like 5 minutes away. We're good. Or they're like, oh my gosh, she hasn't even left her house yet.
Right. That would be me. I'm like, I'm I can't.
Yeah. But I feel like if we would have shared locations, they would have known I was at
the Starbucks. And then they would have called the Starbucks and been like, put my wife on the phone before I kill her.
So that could have been helpful.
Or you just answer the phone.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Right.
My phone's it's always on silent.
Is there any reason why you couldn't put it on to like vibrate to where maybe you would hear it?
I should have done that.
Okay.
I feel like this is an intervention. I like this.
Right. I should have done that.
Okay. So you might not know this. We call this podcast therapy. So intervention is right in line.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how did you change your behavior after that? Your behavior?
I put my phone on vibrate for a while there. And then I was kind of scarred and I was almost scared to ask for help after that failure, which is not good.
Went out blindly without.
I just was like,
instead of having backup,
what if I forget?
Forget it.
I know that's not the answer. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that, listeners.
Please don't do that.
And it's with anything. If you get into a habit, if it's something you do every time,
right,
you're going to do it every time.
Well, that's the thing. It's not often that I have to say, well, especially not anymore, because now the clients I work with came from someone I know. I don't really work sign calls.
I know. I'm going to be the devil's advocate again.
Okay, do it.
One of the second scariest situation I was ever in was with a past client. Someone I had already done 2 transactions with.
What?
Yes. And I won't give a lot of details on air because it was very private for the buyer, but the seller at the time, because she had been the buyer, I'd sold them the house and then they're like, we're ready to sell it. Can you come over?
Okay.
But he had a mental break, and I went to their home unknowingly in a very dangerous situation that I found out about later.
Okay.
And I knew them.
Yes.
I had already worked with them. So
Right.
my point is, you just don't know.
So even if it's someone you know, putting it in your calendar, I mean,
someone needs to know where you are.
Yeah. And then sharing it.
I don't feel like that's very helpful, but I'm just saying.
Well, it would be helpful if something happened and they can just go to your calendar and know exactly where the last place you were was.
And that's a starting tool for if something happened. But legitimately,
It's too late,
realtors
maybe.
need to have the mindset of no one's coming to help me. I've got to help myself.
Great. Let's go there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah.
Do you recommend any specific self-defense training or any other type of training for a realtor?
I'm biased because I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Great.
So I would say
that
is yes. But any form of martial arts training that would be realistic, that's not just standing in front of a mirror practicing,
Right.
that's actually
Okay.
some sort of self-defense where you're having contact with a person. You're actually trying to
Okay.
implement the techniques while they're trying to resist.
Okay.
So, I mean, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, any sort of boxing, kickboxing, any of that's great. But the most important thing is whatever you're doing to constantly be doing.
Okay.
You can't just go to a weekend or a one-day seminar
Right.
once.
That's not going to do it.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know we have people
There are a lot of
reach
those.
out that say we want to do a self-defense class, but
Just the one.
just the one. And then we're good. We're ready to self-defend. But until you
And granted,
get used
anything's
to it.
better than nothing. But if
Yeah.
something's going to be effective, it's something that you practice.
Over and over again.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We had a listener question that asked, I guess that one is it though.
What's the best form?
What
So
if
any
it-
kind of martial arts.
Any type of martial art.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any type of martial art that you're actually implementing the techniques on
Right.
a resisting person.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to actually feel the resistance.
Yeah. Real life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Person to person.
Mhm.
Okay. Shall we do tools?
Yeah, I mean, so
Most of the questions we got were about weapons.
yes,
Sure.
lots of weapons questions.
You know, because let's be honest, these ladies, most of them are not going to go to the jiu-jitsu class.
I understand.
Right. So what weapons as realtors would actually help us? Like what is your take on women or just people in general that aren't in law enforcement and used to weapons all the time? Like what should we be doing?
So it's very similar to the defensive tactics or training, whatever weapon you're going to actually train with and become proficient in. So firearms would be the best if you're going to become proficient in it. If you're not going to practice with it and know how to carry it and know how to correctly use it safely, you're more of a detriment to yourself
Right.
Yeah, it's
than
more
you
dangerous.
are. I would say the best thing for someone that's not going to practice a lot is some sort of fixed blade knife. Like
Okay.
small knife, because anyone can put a knife in there. I can give my 5-year-old daughter a a knife and say, defend yourself. And she may not look good doing it, but nobody's going to want to come near her while she's got that in her hand.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of options out there for small fixed blade. Like, I mean, she had one. I don't think she carries it anymore, but it's this very small little push dagger made by cold steel.
Okay.
You could just hold in your hand. It was a little bitty dagger right there. You could
was on my keychain. And and now I don't have a keychain.
Right.
But when I had a keychain, it was very small and very discreet, and you could just carry it. Mm-hmm. You could pull it out very quickly. So even if you were...
Oh, I should have brought my safety device in here.
Oh, yeah. Your alarm.
Shoot.
I know.
I'm going to go get it and see if you like it.
Okay.
And on that note, people talk about mace and spray. I wouldn't carry it.
Okay.
Just because be around people that get sprayed while we're in line of duty, we don't really generally use it that much anymore because it creates, number one, a cloud of that spray around you. You can easily spray yourself.
Right.
Some people it's not as effective on.
Right. Oh, that makes me... Okay, have you ever heard people talk about having the wasp spray? Because it's more directional than like mace.
Wasp spray will work.
Right.
Are you gonna
if you've ever seen it, it's like this big.
I'm not going to carry it in my purse.
Like,
fair. Yeah. But like, in a pinch, if I was like...
say you were in your house... would be nothing wrong with wall spray.
Okay,
but again, if you're trying to spray wall spray at me, it's not going to.
Have you been maced?
No. Yes.
How long does that affect you, mace?
Probably 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I think it was an OCCS blend because there's different types.
Okay.
But it was
interesting.
An awful experience.
I can imagine.
Did you cry?
No cries.
Does it make you water?
Oh, yeah.
It just pours out your eyes?
Not crying. Water.
Yeah, we didn't cry. We water.
But so like when they spray you in the police academy, it's basically you stand in front of me, the instructor comes up and does like this. But it would be very difficult to do that to an attacking person.
If they're moving around.
Like, going like this is...
Right.
I would totally have it in the wrong direction and spray my face.
Yourself. Yeah. But the biggest thing is your mindset. Knowing I have to get myself out of this situation and do whatever it takes.
Right.
Fight, claw, because it's the people that just kind of give up.
Right.
And like, because one thing they tell you is don't let someone change locations with you.
Right.
Because that's generally a very bad thing.
Yeah.
You have even said, like, if it means you have to die in the parking lot,
like
do not let them
leave
fight
where
for
you
your
are.
life.
Correct.
Fight for your life.
Because generally people are going to see a struggle come, and it's not going to work every time, but you have to have the mindset of, I'm not going to let this happen.
Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, you have to, like, actually at times think. I mean, you've even said, too, like in your brain, visualize it happening and visualize yourself doing the right things.
Because if you don't do that, you're going to freeze in that moment.
Yeah. I can imagine I'd be a freezer.
Yeah.
I feel like a freezer.
Wouldn't know what to do.
Okay.
It's interesting.
But if you think about an aspect of like, if somebody tried to grab one of your kids, you're not going to freeze. So you need to have that same mindset.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
I'm a flight. I think I'm going to make a run for it.
Yeah, but it's like if somebody grabbed your kids, you're not going to run for it.
You're right.
You gotta fight.
But you got to fight like that to get.
We have to fight, Katie.
Now you got to get away from them, but generally you're going to have to fight to get away.
Right. Oh, okay. Got it. I can do it.
Yeah, see,
I can do it.
See, it's all mindset.
Great, I can do it.
It all goes back. We're always talking about mindset, and I really think if you're in a dangerous situation, you have to get like angry.
I don't think we have to worry about Haven anymore. She's already like doing her jujitsu.
Well, here's the thing. Her first few weeks, she started jujitsu when she was 4. She's a tiny little girl. There's not a lot of tiny little girls doing jujitsu. So she was going against the little boys. And the first couple times she was very shaken. Like she was just, and as I'm watching, I'm like, if somebody came and pushed me aggressively, I would be so startled.
Right.
I would just be shocked. But she is getting pushed, brought to the ground. Yeah. And for the first, few months, I even told Tanner, look, she doesn't want to go. This is not her thing. And he was like, she's not used to it yet.
Right.
If we can get her to go for a few more times, I think she will get to the point. And now she's like addicted. She loves it.
It's like swimming lessons.
Yeah,
kids don't want to go to swimming lessons. But you need to learn how to swim. Yeah. It's a life skill. Learning how to defend yourself is a life skill.
That's fair.
It is a life skill.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially, I think that's the hardest thing is the world we are living in today is just getting crazier and crazier. And you really have to be prepared for anything. And
I'm going to go off on kind of a tangent.
Let's hear it.
If you think about someone that's going to attack someone, they're not going to attack someone that has a sense of that know that they can defend themselves.
Oh, yeah.
So, for example, when Haven gets to where she's 15 or 16, if she keeps on this journey, like you're going to be able to look at her as someone in a parking lot, and like how she carries herself, that her head's up and alert, not down on your phone, like walking into
They always tell you that about parking lots are like the scariest place to me.
You should not be on your phone.
No, right. And you have to have your keys ready and be prepared. And I'm telling my kids, I'm like, everyone walks directly to the car and no one stops and everyone is like aware.
And make eye contact with people. Yeah. If there's someone that's creeping you out, or look at them and let them know that you don't have to do it aggressively, like I would do it to make them more aggressive.
Like stare them down.
But let them understand, I see you.
Right.
I'm aware.
I had an agent early on in my career who took me on a listing appointment of hers just so that I was following her around, shadowing. It was in a very scary condo complex. And she was very intentional about waving to literally everyone who she saw. Like everybody that walked by.
Smart.
You just like, hi. Hey, see you.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm okay that you see me. I see you. We've all seen each other. Now I'm moving on.
A big thing about areas like that too, there's a lot of good people that still live in there.
Right.
And if you're making that connection with them, if something is going to happen to you, they'll likely help you or call the police.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Right. It's not like everyone there is trouble.
Absolutely not.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. So that's all the weapons. We need a knife.
Yeah, some sort of blade on your keychain that you will actually have access to.
Got it.
Yeah. If you don't carry it with you, if it's in your car.
Okay, right. It's not going to help you, right? Like if it's in your glove box. Okay, someone did ask, what are your best tips and wisdom about concealed carry?
Well, first, if you're going to conceal carry, like say a firearm, you need to get your concealed carry license in whatever jurisdiction. It needs to be something comfortable that you're going to carry every time.
Right.
Because it'll be, if you don't say you carry it half the time, or it's going to turn into either not carrying it or that one time you need it is the time that
you won't have it.
Like I always say, Tanner's is like his cell phone.
Right.
If we're leaving to go to dinner and he forgot his firearm, we're going back.
Yeah, we're going to have to go back.
We have to go back and get it. And you never know it's on him. But if you searched him right now, you'd probably find at least 2.
Sure.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep in line.
I know.
Okay.
But I feel like too, I wasn't always great when I was just day to day working appointments, running errands. But if I was doing, say, an open house, I always had my gun on me. Okay. Always. I had it in my armpit. Like kind of like where your bra strap is. And that's just where it was because I could wear whatever I wanted and you didn't see it.
Okay.
I could still shake hands and move around and I wouldn't, that's just where I kept it. But I felt like I was preparing for an open house.
Okay.
And on that, she would have been better off that time carrying the knife. Because, for example, if I was the attacker and she pulled, I would take that gun from her.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't be proficient in pulling it immediately and going to work.
Yeah.
Where a knife, you could pull a knife out right now and attack me. Like, you just know how to instinctually know how to do it.
That makes sense. Okay, this last question about weapons was also from a listener, but it says, what protection can I legally carry? Is that different from state to state?
It is.
Yeah. So it would really depend. They would have to look that up.
Like here in Baton Rouge, for instance, or Louisiana, you have to get if you're going to carry a concealed firearm, you have to get your concealed carry.
Yeah.
Where if you're a citizen, it's easily attainable, but you just have to go through that process.
You have to do it. Okay. Okay.
But for it, as far as I know, on edged weapon, a knife, like there's no law
like
that says you
can
can't
do that.
have that in your pocket.
Yeah.
My husband didn't take me to the shooting range very often, so
you gave up the gun? Is that what you're telling me?
I gave up.
You were like, I didn't practice enough. I gave it up.
I gave it up. Okay. We went like once.
Well, if people are going to get into that, some of the best form of practice is dry fire. Like having your firearm unloaded, check it, double check it, make sure unloaded, and carry it however you're going to carry it.
Right.
And get it out quickly and go through the mechanics of firing the weapon.
Right. In our home, this is all the time.
Okay.
He's always dry firing and practicing.
I see.
And at any time you walk into our home, he might be coming around the corner pretending.
Okay, great.
It's a perishable skill. So if you don't
that
practice
makes sense. I didn't ever think about it like that.
Practice it for work. Like But yeah, I mean, it's just practicing.
You have to keep
pulling the trigger.
Mhm.
I mean, you even had the laser on some of them to see like where.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. You can become rusty. Like you could just
so you don't always have to go to the range to practice. You could practice,
especially with the cost of ammunition. The cost of ammunition is absolutely absurd right now. So,
so
a lot of
just
people
dry fires.
Dry fire at home, practice.
Right. Okay,
that's good.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
Me neither.
Okay,
even though I see it every day.
Right.
I just thought he needs to do this because of his job.
Right.
But we should be doing it if you plan to carry a firearm.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
What do we mention almost every episode?
Email templates.
You're right. We sure do. And after every time we mention an email template, do you know what we get?
Emails asking if they can have copies of the email template.
Can you send me a copy of that template? I have never had one like that. That sounds great. And you know what the good news is?
What?
You can get all of our email templates from our course, Email Templates 101. Tell the people about it.
Our course has all of the email templates you would need to send to your buyers and your sellers and your clients that are buying and selling at the same time.
Exactly.
To get through every step of the transaction and giving them information that they need for where they are in the transaction.
It's great because you never forget to tell them something.
Yes, and we've already done all the work for you.
Yeah.
We wrote them and you can personalize them.
Yes.
And just feel organized knowing that you have all the information where it needs to be.
And if you purchase Email Templates 101, you do get lifetime access. So occasionally we like to go in and make updates based on the market or if we find a new best practice and we put that right into the template and you get that updated straight away.
It just goes straight to your course?
Yep. Right. It's just there. It's
just
already in there. It's just already in there. You don't even have to worry about it. We'll
That's
send
wonderful.
you an email and we'll say updated.
That's great. Where can they find these email templates?
You can find the email templates at emailtemplates101.com.
Emailtemplates101.com.
Yes, head over for reviews and all of the specifics.
Wonderful.
Okay, enjoy.
How do you feel about open houses?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of it depends on the area, I would say, that the open house is in. But even that, it's almost like setting yourself up in a bad situation.
Yeah.
And I don't know if realtors sometimes can do, because there's strength in numbers. If a bad person walks in, there's two people working, they're likely not making that attack, especially on a woman.
Right.
When I was new and doing open houses every Sunday, because I did them every Sunday for Ann when I was new, he would come, before we had kids and Tanner would come to my open houses.
Okay.
And just kind of not stay the whole time, but he would browse and pretend like he was looking and, then he would head out. But
you're just creeping out the other people at the open house.
Scoping things out.
And the biggest ones would be ones that aren't busy. That's the ones that would kind of sketch me. Like if there's constantly people coming, going, like, say you do one in a neighborhood where there's going to be people walking in and out from around there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry that much.
Right.
It's the ones that, because if you have somebody that's, say, targeting you, you have your picture on the sign. You're saying, I'll be here this Sunday from this time if you want to come grab me.
Right. It's really bad.
And you can have a cookie too.
Yeah.
Have
a snack.
Yeah, have a snack. See, I stopped doing food at my open houses. I had a situation where this guy came into one of my open houses and was like, "You don't have any food?" And I was like, "No." And he just left. And I thought,
and here's an idea that I just thought of, like, guys in uniform, like free food. Like if you wanted to call that substation around there and say, "Hey, if any of the officers on duty want to stop by and get a sandwich or a cookie."
You're going to have to reinstate the food.
I know. See, I stopped the food.
That's a great idea.
But yeah, you could just invite law enforcement to your open house.
Genius.
That's a really good idea.
Because a listener did ask, could you pay an officer to sit at an open house for safety?
You could, so officers work extra duty. I mean, it's going to be roughly $30 an hour generally.
I mean, that's worth it.
Yeah. So if you have 3 hours.
It could be anything? Like it doesn't have to be a registered.
No, they have stipulations. You'll have to get it approved, but it'd be very easy to get approved. The things that don't get approved generally are
that you could
like
work
alcohol-based events and stuff like that, where, I mean,
But you think like an open house is not going to be tough to get?
Absolutely not.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And then you would be allowed to wear your uniform and
they'd probably sit in their car.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I never thought about that.
Okay. how would you go about like you call the office, like
whatever
911
municipality? Do not
please do not call 911. Oh my word.
So whatever agency patrols that area,
just call.
You would call and say, I'm looking for an extra duty officer.
Okay. And they'll put you
an event and tell them what the event is. And
right.
they'll put you, they'd probably advertise it through the agency. And the first officer that calls.
Yeah, because that's a pretty cushy one,
that's
huh?
a good idea.
Just sit in the
they're
driveway.
like, sure.
Yeah,
Come
right.
in, grab a cookie, 2 hours.
Watch my movie in the car.
Most agencies have a 3-hour minimum, I think.
Okay, 3 hour. That's good to know.
A lot of agents are doing 1 to 4 open houses.
Okay, but
now.
let's just say it was $30 an hour. For less than $100, I could have a uniformed law enforcement officer.
Yeah, that doesn't say they have to stay for 3 hours. If you do it for 2 hours, you just have to pay them for 3.
So, and that would be especially good if it was more of a rural open house or something. Like, you wouldn't have to do that for every
like if you were in a
house.
place with poor cell phone reception or like, you're right, remote.
That's a good idea.
Or someplace you weren't familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is a really good idea.
And if you have an office that has a lot of like brand new agents, getting one of them to come with you and sit with you at the open house.
I just tried to convince myself that going alone was not an option for a while. And then I just stopped doing them.
I know.
Because,
we're kind of at that point.
And I would ask the seller, I'm like, it's also dangerous for you in your home.
If I was selling my house, I'm not having an open house.
You would never.
People are not coming to my house.
Right, because they're just random people from the public. They can unlock a window.
It's like anti-Tanner.
Yes.
Open houses. It's funny because I just went on a listing interview with someone he works with, and they were like, hey, by the way, we will not have open houses. And it's just so interesting, the perspective of someone that's actually aware of crime and aware of what an open house means. And I tell my sellers, look, if you have a serious buyer that's going to purchase your home, if they are really looking, they will make an appointment.
They don't need an open house.
They don't need an open house. Yeah. And then let's say it is a serious buyer and they see that it's open Sunday. They may not make an appointment. They may say, I'm just going to go to the open house. Well, now I can't follow up with them. I don't know that maybe they didn't do the sign-in. Sign-in sheets are a joke.
Right.
People don't fill them out. You get fake names. You get fake emails. They don't want to be called. So
I've never written my real name
on a sign-in sheet.
On any sign-in sheet.
No, definitely not. Mm-mm. Okay, well, what if an agent is like, okay, I have to do this open house? Are there some things you would recommend to make it safer?
The things we talked about, yes, like if you could have an officer, if you can have someone there with you.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, alone, it kind of goes back to the mindset deal and having already prepared yourself to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you as a realtor, I would say, just stay in the main room where you can get to the front door. But if the person wants to see the house and I have a question in the back about the, like, are you going to?
You can just bring it back up here.
Yeah.
I've stood on the porch before.
But a lot of realtors are going to go.
Like, well, yeah, what are you doing back here?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a recent incident with a male realtor in our market who was basically in a back bedroom on a showing of a rental property. And did they pull a knife on him?
They pulled something on him.
Yeah. It was.
And that's another thing. If it's a robbery, like if you know it's a robbery and they pull it, give them.
Right. Here's the thing.
All of it.
Is it good or bad to do the throw the purse? You know?
I would, yes.
Like, don't throw it in a different direction. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't
this is good.
throw it and stand there. Like,
right.
Throw it and get away from
out.
that person.
Got it.
Yeah. He was really shaken up after that. And I was really proud of him because
he managed to lock himself in a bathroom, I think.
Yeah. And then he told us agents and was like, look, I'm not looking for, scrutinism on how I handled this situation. Right. I'm just going to tell you what happened. And I was shocked that this happened to me.
Yeah.
As a male agent, never would have thought that someone would target me.
Yeah.
Thinking it's not going to happen to you is not an option.
Yeah. That's not the mindset. You always have to be aware.
Oh, yeah. When prepared. I put the address in my phone, in my calendar and share it, I'm like, okay, this is so when they come looking for me. Like I'm picturing the whole Lifetime movie.
Right.
Like just the act, I think, of you putting it in your calendar that way and sharing it with Jay is a mindset trigger of I'm doing this for safety. I'm doing it for safety.
So you've never listened to the show, is that correct, Tanner?
That's correct.
Have you listened to any episodes?
That Green has turned on.
Okay. No.
Okay. Way far back in the beginning on episode number 6, we have Carl Carter on, who tells the story of his mother who was an
I remember
agent.
you talking about
okay.
that, yes.
Yeah, I told him about
It is, to anyone who's listening now, it is an episode that you really have to listen to because he kind of walks through the whole crime. So like, how did they,
she did everything right.
yeah.
Everything.
And they had basically had this very long like communication with her. It wasn't like a random open house situation. But the point is you should definitely listen to it because after, even more so after hearing him tell that story, I was always like, okay, I'm going to put in the address so people know where I am. And I'm like trying to picture like what are the things that people, because there were all these things that happened after the crime where they were trying to find her because she was kidnapped. And it was just jarring.
Yeah.
Very jarring.
Again, to the mindset of being prepared to defend, and most realtors have kids, I'd say. Think of it as if I got attacked, I would do the same thing to get away that if someone grabbed my child.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to be nice.
So that's the hardest thing, I think, especially us being in the South. We're
Mhm.
always,
So polite.
Be polite, always just. That's why I kind of like even the new way of teaching your kids now. Like, don't force them to hug people.
Yeah.
Like, if you're leaving a family event, you don't have to say,
Right.
okay, go hug everyone. If they
Right.
don't want to, don't
Right.
make them.
Right,
Like, you're
right.
teaching them to think for themselves
Yeah.
and know and listen to
Mhm.
their own gut instead of you telling them
Yeah,
what to do.
if you feel something feels creepy,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you think agents go wrong with their safety practices? What are they doing wrong?
The biggest thing is thinking it's never going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's daytime outside. Nothing
It's daytime
nothing
outside.
bad happens during the day.
Right.
It's
Do bad things
absurd.
happen during the day?
Yes.
Tanner. It's very important.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point because that's just like you're not paying attention because you're like, oh, I'm in a,
And thinking everybody's nice. Like there's
Right.
bad people in this world
dressed as good people.
in every occupation. And
Right.
so don't just take it as
Yeah.
And in your situation with your past client, even good people could be going through something that alters their mental state.
Right.
That makes them, a
Right.
different version of who they really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you just don't know.
Just very, very crazy. Okay.
So one of our listeners had a question of if it's a repeat offender, do they end up on some sort of list or
Other than a sex offender, because obviously there's a list for that. But what if there's someone who's, I don't know, robbed a bunch of realtors?
not that I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Now,
And
granted, if
yeah.
somebody's generally been arrested for something like that,
Yeah.
Google their name.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
it'll come
everybody
up.
watches the news nowadays.
Yeah.
They report on everything. it
Yeah.
seems like.
everything?
Okay. Just, we got to Google them.
Because it'll show up.
It says, meaning offenders of being creepy at open houses or posing as potential. So, like, they haven't actually committed any crimes. There's not,
Right,
like, really
There's
a way
not going to be
to.
a, not
Right.
that I'm familiar
We
with.
can't track
be
people who
labeled-
haven't committed the crime yet.
Right. Potentially creepy.
Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
That would be nice. But, well, that's why I do think the realtor Facebook groups,
Oh, yeah. Very helpful.
that's what we should use it for is if you are. And we do in our marketplace, we say, hey, we have this one guy, the pastor. He's not.
Have
a
you heard about the
Have you
pastor?
heard about what
Tell
is
him.
his deal? He comes and goes in our market, and
he always
targets
wants to look at luxury property.
Yes, and his name is Pastor something, but it's always the
No.
same person. And
White.
Pastor White.
Reverend
we, should,
something.
we should talk about the pastor off air.
Yeah. Well,
Right. Well,
and so you'll see in the Facebook group, hey guys, the pastor is back. He's making these calls and trying to get into these luxury homes. And it's weird because we never really know what the end game is. He hasn't hurt anyone but it's
Yeah.
just sketchy things that he does.
like doesn't have a pre-approval or won't do it, or then we'll go from agent to agent for a little while and he'll like have them in the house for a while just looking at I think he's just like playing pretend.
And I think some
But
agents.
things like that escalate.
Right.
Yes.
Like what's it gonna be?
One day.
Right, exactly.
You don't want to be the one there when it escalates.
But that's the good thing about networking with local agents. Then at least we know, okay, well, this sketchy behavior is happening with this person. Or if someone gets a weird, like, phishing type of email, they'll immediately put it in the realtor group and be like, did anyone else get this? And like 20 people will be like, yep.
Or if something with the pastor gentleman, it's like, why would you want to waste your time if you know that he's
Right.
Well, the hard part is that a lot of agents that are newer, they want the business so bad.
I
They
understand.
need the money. They feel like it's could happen. It's a real thing. But these boundaries, they just get in the way of me getting a paycheck. And so they just throw boundaries aside and just pray that this one of the spaghetti noodles sticks to the wall and it'll work out. But I always take it as a compliment when I say I need a pre-approval letter so that we can make an appointment. And then a lot of times they say, well, no other realtor has required a pre-approval letter.
Yeah.
I respond with, well, I'm super happy to be one of the more professional ones that does.
Right.
So don't be embarrassed or feel insecure that you're one of the agents that does require it. Like, stick to your guns and know
And
that
if somebody said that, my question would be, well, how many realtors have you been through?
Right.
And why?
red flags.
Right. So
You're not
many
going to
red
lose
flags.
anything.
Right. You could lose a buyer or you could lose your life. Like, it's not much of a comparison. Okay. They also want to know when or how would a realtor get involved in regards to reporting strange behavior? Like, how, like, should they be cautious, when and where or why?
So you can report anything suspicious to the local, whether it be a sheriff's office, the city police.
Right.
So if something's suspicious, there's nothing wrong with making a report of it, because say if there's 5 different realtors that all report the same suspicious pastor guy that's doing weird stuff or whatever, at least there's a log of it. So if things do escalate, you can show a pattern of
the behavior.
Right.
So if you call and report something and you're not necessarily asking that the police come or do something, they will make a note of it in some sort of
They'll
database.
write a report. Generally, the officer would come out there and write a report. But some you can call and they can make a report over the phone.
Okay.
Don't call 911.
Okay.
Right. Got it.
Call just the whatever
Figure
agency
out
The local
the number.
I always thought if you needed anything police related, you called 911.
No,
you and
meanwhile,
everybody else.
I have the sheriff's number programmed in my phone because if it's just like an annoyance type, I mean, you're not going to call 911. Like 911 is for an emergency.
Look at you. I'm proud of you.
Good job, Katie.
Thank you. I'm a good citizen.
There you go.
Mhm. I don't want to use up the resources incorrectly.
No, that's good.
Okay. What else? I feel like I'm going to go get my device.
Oh, go get it.
It's real loud though.
Are you going to open it?
Yeah, can't I? Jay will have to fix it on the. I want Tanner to hear it. I want him to tell me if it's silly for me to even carry it. Or
I'll tell you
would it
right now,
actually-
from
it's
your
too
description,
silly?
it's silly. But
Okay,
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna bring it and we're gonna open it, and you can hear it.
It's a personal alarm. It's called a birdie. That's a keychain. And so if you get attacked, you pull it and this alarm goes off. It's really loud. It's supposed to just scare them. Alert. I don't know. Maybe by listening to this noise, they think something's happening.
You would probably need to be screaming like this notified the police or something.
Like I would have to. Okay, good. Tell me how. Right, I
That's
could
a
be
good
like,
tip.
I have notified the police.
Right. So even if it
Okay.
doesn't notify,
Are you
No, I
ready?
don't wanna
It's not
listen
going
to
to hurt that much. Like, I mean,
It's better than nothing. But
I
at the
feel
same,
like
so
at
okay,
least it would draw attention to me, right?
sure, but
But if you're in a
also
house-
be ready to defend yourself. Like pull that, let it make the sound.
Okay, maybe
and
I
then-
need it to be turned into a knife.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would say a knife would be better on that keychain.
Okay,
than that.
fine.
But it's good. It's better than nothing.
At least I can be like, I have alerted the police.
I mean, at least if you do that, and then now you're fighting with the person, there's a loud sound,
Right.
That's drawing
Drawing
attention. But if you're in a
attention to me.
house,
right, what's that going to do?
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to be annoying while I'm being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
One of
fine.
the questions on the list
because
was,
real quick, before like the person attacking you is not a rational human being.
Right.
Or you're thinking like a rational human being.
see,
Like they're
I'm
going to hear this and stop.
Well, what
Yeah.
I'm hoping is that they'll hear it and be like, what the heck is that? Maybe it has contacted. Maybe it's like a homing device. You don't think that they're going
I
to
just
think
don't
that?
think so.
You're like,
it's possible,
I mean,
but
See,
I wouldn't bet my life on.
Well, no, I'm just like
The
trying to
birdie
give
saving
myself a
it.
chance to run away.
I think that you and I and the majority of our listeners are very fortunate that we live in this bubble.
Okay.
And he, living with Tanner, reminds me constantly that you can't reason
right.
with the people that are going to be attacking you.
Right.
They are not in a logical frame of mind
Right.
where Well, they wouldn't do that in broad daylight. Yes.
Sure, they would.
Yes, they would.
Yes.
Or it's just a reminder that what we think that they would think is not what they would think.
And what worries me like about something like that would be like that would be in your mind like your defense mechanism. And when that doesn't work, well,
then what would my backup plan be?
Right. You built that into that's what I'm going to do.
I'm going to hate to break this to you. Before that, I had no plan at all.
Okay.
So we're taking one step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Now I have a small plan, but I will amp up my plan. How about that?
Yes. And I mean, we are fortunate. I know it could still happen to us, but
It could happen to anyone.
anyone, anywhere, not just on an appointment, you know?
Right. Oh,
Like
I'm
getting
very
gas.
scared of the parking lots and the gas
A
station.
perfect example. Cops get killed in the United States that are in full uniform
Right.
with guns on,
with weapons,
with some sort of training, like,
Vests.
and people attack them. There's evil, crazy people out there that you cannot reason with.
Well, that makes me feel like I've got no chance.
See,
We got it. See? No.
wrong mindset.
Wrong mindset. No, say, I do have a chance.
I do have a chance. I'm
gonna
protecting my
fight-
child.
Yeah, I'm going to fight
I
this.
got it. I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
We need some like safety affirmations.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
Oh, we're going to need to find some safety.
affirmations.
Like, I will.
I don't know
things
if I'm
like,
your guy
you
on this
know,
one.
He's like, he's tapping out. He's tapping
like,
out.
Things like, you know, I will fight you back.
Yeah.
You know, so that way if you tell yourself that enough, you believe it. So if you're in the situation, you're like, I will fight you back. I'm not even going to think about
Yeah.
not.
I don't care if you stab me. I'm going to scream.
Right. Yes.
Think of like a mama bear. Like,
Yeah.
have you seen what mother bears will do to anything that messes with
they're
their
violent.
cub?
Mm-hmm.
They're violent.
Okay. Oh, this is stressing me out.
I know it. Well, we have to be prepared, Katie.
I know.
Okay.
I hope this is helpful for the listeners.
Yeah. I mean, I live with Tanner and I'm slacking in many of these areas.
That'll bring us to our favorite question. Does Alyssa do some things you do not like in her business?
And then I put to correct this in my business.
Not in life.
Not in life. Or do I do things that you do not like in my job?
She's pretty good now.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing, like, because she gets so many calls about things, she keeps her phone silent so it doesn't interrupt other activities. But a lot of times I'm trying to get a hold of her. or
Right, we would
something
like
with
it
the
to be-
kids. And
He
it's
says
like,
I never answer his messages.
Uh-huh.
But I feel I do.
Okay.
I think she looks at them and then thinks that
I respond
okay.
in my head.
Yes,
Oh,
and
that
it just
happens to
doesn't go
me
back.
too.
Yeah, I
That's
respond
all
in my
right.
head.
That's
And-
all right. Okay, but safety-wise in her business, you feel like
pretty good now,
pretty
especially
good.
since a lot of her business is referral.
Yeah.
So someone knows these people. Not saying it can't happen.
right, but it's
a
much
likely.
less likely. Yeah.
And she doesn't do open houses anymore.
Yeah.
So that
Look, I've been doing this for 16 years, and I had a guy call me off of my sign like last week on my listing. Actually, not far from where y'all live. Nice area, whatever. But he was just really adamant that he needed to see the house. And I'm like, well, I used your line. I'm like, have you seen other houses yet? Or, have you seen anything else? And he said, yes. I'm like, oh, so you had an agent that was showing you? Yes. Well, she's out of town. And I'm like, well, I don't want to get drug into this.
Right.
And I was like, okay. Well, so I tried to be like, well, usually she has someone covering her business. Can you reach out and they should be the ones to show you? And he was like, no, I really need to see this house. And he just kept pushing the thing. And I was like, you know what? I took his name and his information and I looked him up and I figured out who he was. But I took Jay with me. And Jay had to sit in the driveway looking like a weirdo for a full hour, because then once we got there, the guy was normal. But I'm like,
Right.
sorry, babe.
Better
you
safe
got to
than
take two separate
sorry.
vehicles.
Right, I should have done
Oh,
that.
2 separate. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just stuck there. But
While you did the show, because that's a big house with a workshop and everything.
I know. Look, it was a whole thing. But I
Yeah.
didn't die.
Good for you for being safe, Katie.
I was safe.
We don't need to worry about looking like weirdos. If your gut tells you something's not right,
I
That's
just,
so
I didn't
big.
know
it's
him.
okay. We don't have to be polite.
Right.
We just had an agent recently in my office that she had shown this person homes. She did not know him before, but she had met him a few times. He's pre-approved. Everything's fine. Well, they go to this house and the back part of the lot is wooded.
Okay.
And he's like, I want to go to the back of the property and see what the back of the property looks like.
See ya.
And she's like, well, you may go. And he's like insisting that she...
Into the woods?
Yes.
Everyone gets...
Absolutely
Yes,
not.
right? I mean,
Never
this
go
is
to
a very...
the woods.
And she said, I had no reason up until this point, but the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And a few more things happened where I don't know the full story,
Okay.
but she left.
Good for
Left.
her.
Left him outside?
Yeah, she got in her car and left.
Did she lock up the house, or she just rolled out?
She called the listing agent and said, I'm embarrassed. And I don't know what exactly, but I felt like I needed to leave.
Did that person ever reach back out to her?
So later that evening, he reached out and was like, hey, everything good? And she said, I'm so sorry. I had gotten a call from my kid's school and I had to go quickly. I'm sorry that I had to
leave you in the woods.
Leave you. But she said she just knew that she had to get out.
There's a reason, so we as human beings evolved as a species.
Right.
And you get that feeling. You know how people are scared of the dark?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's because your ancestors used to get
grabbed
by lions, tigers, and bears in the dark. That is your DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, instinct survival skills.
So if you're getting that feeling,
you should go with it.
Yeah.
Right, always.
But the listing agent supported her fully and was like, good.
No problem.
I'm so glad you did the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she said, I'm going good. And she went back with her husband and locked up. It was a vacant house. So her and her husband.
Always a vacant house.
Always a vacant house. Her and her husband went back and locked up the door and just made sure everything was good. But all of that to say, it could have been nothing. But don't worry about being polite. If you feel like you need to get out of there.
No, if I'm alone with any person, I don't care what type of person they are, and they ask me to go into the woods with them and I don't know them at a vacant house.
And this is kind of tradecraft stuff, but if you're meeting a new person that you don't know, there's nothing wrong with you having an open cell phone line with your whoever.
Yeah.
Until you feel comfortable.
Yeah, that's a good point. You could just be on the phone.
Yeah, they don't have to know it. You just call them on your phone, have it in your hand where they can hear it.
Anyone can do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of me having to reach out, X amount of minutes into my showing, I could just be on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay,
I like that one.
I feel like we're good. How's our time?
I think we're great.
Okay, wonderful. I didn't tell him about the toast. You're, as the listener, as the guest, usually
you're in charge of the toast.
Supposed to pick someone that you would like to acknowledge, give a toast to, someone that has made an impact on your life, your
business.
Yes,
or you can defer if you're like, I don't want to toast anybody.
I'll actually give two.
Oh my God,
wonderful.
Let's do it.
So I would toast Joe Rogan.
Oh my gosh.
Because he got me started in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, no way.
12 years ago. I listened to his podcast.
I did not even know that.
That's what got me to start.
Because he's a big advocate that all law enforcement should do.
Sure. He's a big advocate that anybody.
All the people should do.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Toasting Joe Rogan.
That's fun. I'll call his publicist and let him know.
And then the other one I would toast would be Jocko, which I don't know who Jocko is.
Yeah, Jocko.
So
we're toasting famous people today.
I love it.
All I know is famous people. I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine. We'll totally do that.
I'll also toast James Green because he turned this podcast on when we're about to do serious things.
He's one of before they do something really major.
He's like, let's listen to a little Hustle Humbly.
Yeah, you hear the intro.
Hilarious.
He thinks it's funny. Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Why? Because he's trying to psych you out?
He's also probably one of the only people.
You should probably try to psych you up.
What's it stars hey, it's Alyssa and Katie. That. I've heard that numerous times.
He's never listened to the show. He's listened to the intro a bunch of times.
Just as a pep talk before a big bust.
God, that's so funny. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks. This was good.
Yeah.
Went great.
It's always good to increase your safety levels.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I need to do some things. Get back on. I've gotten rusty. I've gotten comfortable. That's
fine. I'm sure most people listening feel the same way.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not just rusty. Maybe they were never good or had no plan in place.
Right.
Ultimately, you have to have a plan in place.
And a mindset. Your mindset has to be ready.
And a system. When you you can get someone's driver's license. You can get their license. You can say, I need to make a copy of your driver's license before we go.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would not, if as a civilian wanting to see it, I wouldn't think anything's wrong with that.
No.
If somebody does, there's something wrong with it.
Right. Right. Yes. If they give you pushback, there's a problem.
Exactly. It's just a little test.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Yes. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Say bye, Tanner.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast. Let us know who we should toast to for the next episode.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hustle Humbly Podcast. If you have an episode, topic, or question, please email us at hustlehumblypodcast@gmail.com.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. See you next week. Bye.
This is the good life.